Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Monday the 5th of June comes to you from London. And got a mixed picture on the screen today. We've got a mix of red and green, just telling me that straight away that there's some just sort of mixed fortunes in markets. We'll look at the currencies, then stock indices and commodities, and last of all the energy mix. The big story here at the moment, of course, is OPEC have just come out with a production cut, and the big question is, will we fall below 70, make new lows this year? Will demand destruction win, or will we go higher than that 90? Will OPEC win? So will we see new highs or new lows for the years? That's going to be quite key. We're seeing gas prices up this morning. We'll talk about that later. We went out as neutral to clients this morning. Primarily, we're still below the trends, but we did have some upside targets. So a conflicting picture there on the shorter term picture. Looking at my own portfolio just quickly, not everything is doing brilliantly, but the main thing is I'm following these stop losses up, these optimized stops, really quite key. I've sold these two, they're below their stops. These two are on watch, and the others and I use a 3-bar rule here, so I'm just waiting to see whether I stick below the stop for 3 bars or if I'm starting to deteriorate, and that's what was happening on these two, so got rid of those. And I'm looking to put more money into my Nasdaq fund today. I'm going to scan, as now the Nasdaq's made new highs. We'll talk about that in a minute. But now the Nasdaq's made new highs, I'm looking to really start upweighting there, so that we're through the cloud. That's really significant on the weekly. I did post up that on LinkedIn. It's very clear to me that Nasdaq stocks are back in favor. How long that will go on is anyone's guess, but the reality is the charts look great. We've got great upside targets, 12% higher in the medium term and 22% higher in the long term. So just got to chase that trend really. Now looking at the currency mix, we've got the dollar recovering. We did talk about this the other day, where we're going to make new lows or new highs, and more it's looking like we're going to make new highs. The dollar is back. We're seeing that the euro dollar is therefore weaker. Remembering this is my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute chart, my long-term, medium-term, and short-term view of the market with the corresponding targets. So just at a glance with these 6 charts, I get a view. I'm running here on Refinitiv Icon, but you can run Updata on lots of different data sources, Bloomberg, Trayport if you're in energy, and up to 30 different data services, so really lots that you can do there. And looking at the yen chart, this was really my lead indicator. The yen has really moved away on the dollar, and that's why we're seeing here the dollar has strength against the yen, really showing through and looking bullish on all 3 time frames, and that really is the lead indicator for the dollar. Looking at sterling, it's been relatively strong on interest rate hopes, and we are just sitting at this 124 level, so we are just pulling back there on that short-term trend as well. Bitcoin still struggling at around 27,000, just below there, so can't get back into long-term bullish territory, and medium-term we're back into playing with the cloud, and short-term we're now below the cloud, so that's really significant as well. Looking at sterling against the euro, 115.86, we did nudge new highs there. That's really starting to look a lot stronger, sterling having the upper hand, just starting to see a little bit of a deterioration this week, but on the whole, we are seeing that recovery. And against the Aussie, I did actually have a big Aussie trade on, which I closed out at 188. It was a bit disconcerting to see it go to 190s. It was a timing issue as much as anything, and we've got big upside targets, but we are just pulling back now. So settling around this 190 level, that's looking like resistance. Now looking at the markets, I mentioned the Nasdaq making that new high in the last couple of weeks, just pushing through the cloud. That's bullish above the cloud on the lagging line, really going for the moon. As I mentioned, the targets are telling us 12% upside. That's on the medium and short-term charts, and 23% upside on the medium and long-term charts. So really significant there. Looking at the futures today, little change. We've got the S&P future just slightly up, and the Nasdaq down a little bit. So markets look set to open flat for the day. The FTSE future is up 0.4%, so that's just looking a little bit better, but really still seeing that lower high after that high, and the risk here is a lower high, lower low. That's the level we've got to watch there on the FTSE. The DAX in Germany, looking at the cash market, little change today. So again, just struggling at that previous level there, really significant. If we look at that, just can't quite get through that resistance there at around 16,000. So really significant there. We're just sitting on that level at the moment. And if we look at Japan, looking very, very strong indeed, just really taking away there. We've got great upside targets here. We've talked about those before. 10% upside pretty much across the board with lots of targets, and we're really motoring now for Japan, and looking at some of the individual Japanese stocks really moving. The Hang Seng was up 0.8% overnight, so looking a little bit better there, but still not through on the weekly card. Got work to do. One of the worst looking markets really this year. And if we look at the Shanghai Composite, it's also just struggling on that long-term cloud. And if we look at the Sensex in India, up 0.5%, again looking great, very similar structure to Japan, good upside targets, still one of the best looking markets, although it was underperforming for the first few months of the year. And the Aussie market up 1%, and I noticed some of my Australian stocks doing better this morning. Taking a look at some of the commodities, gold sitting at 1944, really struggling back below this 2000 level, just couldn't hold on to it. So that is proving to be a long-term strong level of resistance. We need to see gold back through there. And silver back below $24, again just couldn't get through this 25. So these levels are really quite key for gold. $2,000 and $25 for silver. Looking at the bond yields in the US, sitting at 3.74%. Still long-term bullish, upside targets here, the downside targets removed on the medium-term chart, getting back through the cloud there, looking bullish on all three time frames. The inflation story looks set to come back based on bond yields. Now looking at Brent crude this morning, is sharply up on that OPEC move. So we are just nudging the previous 78. 79 is the level that we want to break to continue that. US nat gas is up 2%, looking a little bit better, but still has work to do on the medium-term chart. If we look at coal, we're still below the $100 mark here on coal. Bearish, bearish. This is my daily and my 60-minute chart with the targets. So we got coal going lower on those medium and long-term charts. And emissions up 1.6% this morning. Not enough to change the picture. We are still bearish below the daily and on the 60-minute. Downside targets potentially. So really got to watch for any new lows there. That's going to be quite bad news for emissions. And as I mentioned, gas prices, they're up 10%. They were down 10% on Friday, recovering a lot of Friday's losses. So that's quite key. But we are still below the cloud. Is this a bottom for gas prices? We have to see. And NBP similarly up this morning. So that's going to be quite key. Now, German power has had a target to 113. We got the target to 120. That was met. So really quite key. 112 is the target there on the 60-minute chart. But short term, we've got some upside targets kicking in. If you're trading German power, especially on your OTC data, you want to be using these 1-minute targets. Really important. So that's it for today. Keep an eye on those markets. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens at the opening. But the real takeaway is that Nasdaq stocks looking strong. If we look at Apple, 180, looking much, much stronger here. Upside targets, very big upside targets to play for. Everyone's talking about the breadth. The fact that the big techs, the large tech cap techs are dominating the market, but the reality is their charts are looking amazing, and we're close to a new all-time high on Apple. And we know from a technical perspective, new highs are good. Until tomorrow, happy charting. Bye for now.